Lower Alabama. Mike Amos, yours truly, going head-to-head with Bill Rice Jr. this morning on a Friday, June the 26th, 1947. A young man was born on 213 Orion Street in Troy, Alabama, who has shocked the world in so many ways. Yours truly, Mike Amos.
Happy birthday to you.
And many
And
more. And I'm going to knock on wood there.
Well, I'll tell you, there's never been anybody that cares more about Troy that was born in Troy or promotes it more.
Well, that's who I am. You know, people ask me all the time.
You got Troy in your blood.
Why are you such a Troy guy? Well, it's who I am. Hey, I wasn't born in Montgomery. I was born in Troy, Alabama. I wasn't born in Dothan or Enterprise, Ozark. I'm an orange and blue Charles Henderson High School class of 1965, and darn proud of it. And people say it means a lot to you. Well, let me tell you, if you gave me a real hard time about it, I'd probably fight you over it.
I know it.
Over my hometown.
Yeah.
Again, it's who I am and where I'm from, and you can't be proud of that. I feel sorry for you.
Well, if your town has no people that feel like that, your town's in trouble. I'll tell you. I'll say that.
And when we get behind closed doors, we're gonna have a lot of country music on here today. We're gonna. That's only words I know of a song. Are you like that, or do you actually know the words of songs?
I mangle them, and then the ones I don't know, I just hum them. But you know who has the talent for lyrics? She can hear a song one time and basically know all the lyrics. My wife.
Yeah, my daughter's a lot like that. No, like that.
I watch all these kids shows. You know, they're in the background, and you know, all parents, your kids are watching these shows. But what amazes me is Carrie can sing the jingle to all of them. You know.
This is gonna be a day of one-liners. I promise you. It's gonna be. I want everybody to come up with some one-liners this morning.
Let's get back to the country musicians. I'll tell you who my favorites are. I like all types of music, including country music. I like Hank Williams Sr. I like Hank Williams Jr. He's the real deal. He's not like...
Tell me, Hank, why do you drink?
And we claim Hank Williams Jr., and he just had a tragedy where he lost...
I know, and I hate that. Beautiful girl, too. Beautiful.
Who went to school at Pike Liberal Arts, I believe.
Did she? Yeah, for a little while. That's right.
So our hearts and prayers go out to Hank Jr. And then I love Johnny Cash. And you know, I talk to you all the time about one of my favorite Johnny Cash songs is "I've Been Everywhere, Man." But he hadn't been as many places as you have been following Troy football and covering high school football for Troy Cablevision. Yeah. You've been everywhere, man.
You know, you take Johnny Cash. One thing about him, he's sure not pretty. He didn't get where he was by being pretty, or being a guy that smiled very much. You know, he looks like a guy on hard times. You know.
Yeah, he lived hard. He's got that persona. I remember listening to Johnny Cash 8-track tapes in KK and Hickey's car. That's my grandparents on the Chapman side. We would go fishing at the pond in Union Springs. You've been there, Collie Pond.
Oh, yeah, been there and fished there, yeah.
And they liked Johnny Cash, and I'm a little 10-year-old kid, and that's where I was turned on to Johnny Cash.
My aunt was Emma Lou Renfro. You ever heard of Jerry Renfro?
Yeah.
Jerry Renfro was my first cousin, and Papa Shorty, Quentin Renfro, ran that Gulf station on the corner of Highway 29 and 231. I don't know if you could have had a better location for a filling station. I mean, 29 went all the way to New York, and 231 went all the way to Miami, and north all the way to Chicago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good location on the corner of
right there on Madison. Is that what you're talking about?
No, on the corner of
Madison and
29 and 231. That gas station there. Your granddaddy sold him the gas. Right across the street was the where everybody bought the vegetables,
Yeah, I know that station. Yeah, that was. Then that later became William Lunsford's cat station.
Yeah,
that's
well,
right.
that's right. Mr. Lunsford came way after Shorter Renfro. And Jabbo, you've heard of Jabbo's bait shop. Well, Jabbo Barron worked for my uncle. And not only could you buy gas there, you could buy parakeets, you could buy worms. You know, what you do, you pull up and you buy gas. Say, look, give me a couple of boxes of worms. They'd walk a few feet over there and dig you up some worms. Some of them were wigglers and some of them would look like snakes, big old worms. And we were talking about catawbas the other day.
Yeah,
he'd go back and get you some catawbas, and then he had a huge thing where you get your crickets.
And wasn't that near the ice house? Wasn't there an ice house down there?
Well, he had ice, but the main ice house was downtown. You know where Pie Brantley's office used to be downtown for all those years?
That was.
You know, back in there, that was where the original ice house was. But he sold ice. He had a big cooler. And
I'm talking about these places that sell big blocks of ice.
Oh, yeah, exactly. My daddy, years ago, you know, he was in the paper business, newspaper business. He went to Montgomery, picked up, had trucks to pick up the papers, and they'd take the papers all over South Alabama to the towns.
Yeah,
you know?
That was a big job.
But back a long time ago, to make a little extra money to put a little bit more food on my table, he sold ice between Elba and Troy. Some of you folks might remember that. And what he would do, you would buy a huge block of ice, and he would pick that ice up and bring it to your house and stick it in your freezer, the top of your refrigerator. Right. You put the ice there, and when it melted down, you had to have some more. But that's how you
kept everything cold.
Those folks that didn't have electricity, that's how you kept everything cold. How long
would that block of ice last? I wonder.
Well, probably a week or so, maybe more. But you had to, you know, but that's how those folks in the country did it. You know,
I remember those freezers and refrigerators.
And one other thing that all the kids wanted was he sold Kool-Aid, little packages of Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, those kids out in the country, man, the Kool-Aid. Now, you know, back then you had the Kool-Aid, but you didn't have sweetener in Kool-Aid. You had to add the sugar to it, you know.
I lived
and
on
you had the big gallon container of Kool-Aid, you know. And
you poured in a bunch of sugar and then a little Kool-Aid pack.
And you weren't living if you didn't walk around with a Kool-Aid mustache. Have you ever seen a Kool-Aid mustache?
Yeah.
Or bubblegum mustache?
Here's what I would go to school in Opelika. This is my Opie Taylor days, 2nd to the 6th grade. Come home and want a snack after school. Usually, you know what I'd end up eating? If we didn't have potato chips, I'd get into the cereal, you know, Fruit Loops or Captain Crunch or Apple, and I'd just eat it out of the box. And then I'd make some Kool-Aid, and then I'd watch Gilligan's Island and I Love Jeannie and all my favorite shows, or I'd go out and run around the neighborhood and do what kids did.
Well, you know, also back when I was growing up, the thing that you liked was a candy bar. A candy bar, like you had a Snicker or a Milky Way.
15 cents.
Yeah, a nickel or 15 cents. I go up to the store and get me I was in hog heaven with a Snicker. All right, there was a Snicker, there was a Hollywood bar, there was a Milky Way, there was an Almond Joy.
Let's see how many are still around. Almond Joy.
There was a Payday.
I like Almond Joys now.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Payday.
The Payday, and there was
Hershey bar.
Butternut. There was a Butternut.
The most famous.
And the Hershey bar, and everybody said, "Golly, look at that Hershey bar. It doesn't last. It's not very big,
and it would melt and it was hot."
But then the guy at the grocery store says, "Well, you know, you're right. That's just one little Hershey bar. It costs a nickel." But there are millions there's probably 1 million people over the country have a store that are selling Hershey bars.
Over the world.
It's all about numbers.
What about the Three Musketeers?
Hey, that was a good one. I was trying to remember the Three Musketeers.
Here's
like
why I know this. My mom would, to occupy the kids when we would come home from school, would give us $1. Give me $1.
Well, that was a lot of money, wasn't it?
Yeah, sometimes. This wasn't every day, but you know, once a week. And then all the kids in our little neighborhood crew would walk to a convenience store called Mr. Quick. I wonder if that was a chain, but they had one in Opelika. You walked all the way to the end of our street. Then you cut through the woods, which is full of this kudzu. It's kind of spooky.
Yeah,
There was a little trail that cut about a half mile through the woods.
I grew up around kudzu.
That was a shortcut to Mr. Quick. But with that $1, you could buy so much candy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, so you pick 2 candy bars and some Now and Laters and some, you know,
I hate to tell y'all this. I am 73 years old today. And you know what I had in my mouth last night, as soon as last night, was a Red Hot.
Yeah,
you know, the Jawbreakers, the Red Hot Jawbreakers. I still buy a package of them all the time.
I remember a candy called...
Do you know what a Red Hot Jawbreaker is?
I'd eat them sometimes.
So it was big back then when I was a kid. It's still big now.
A Charms Blow Pop. I can just picture myself right now going through the, you know, trying to make that $1 last. And, you know, I would get 5 or 6 pieces of candy with that $1.
Well, let me tell you this.
We've talked about a lot of them, what I would get.
You were either a Tom's Toasted Peanut guy, or you were the other cracker was what? That was
what was that?
And then they had you know, of course it was my favorite cheese cracker. Lance.
I still
you either a Lance man or you were either a Tom's Toasted Peanut.
Those are still pretty affordable. Those Lance cheese crackers.
Of course, you remember
get
the
those
old
and some Vienna sausages and some Kool-Aid or lemonade.
Oh, now would you have bought some Vienna sausage?
Oh, I love
maybe when you went fishing, you might buy some, you know.
Well, when I do my Atkins diet, which is the low-carb diet, that's my favorite go-to snack.
Is it Vienna sausage?
Yeah, 0 carbs.
You know, the Elmer coach for years during the break and all that practice, he would give his kids Vienna sausage. You know, like at school break at 10 o'clock.
I love them.
Instead of candy bars, he'd give them Vienna sausage.
Maggie and Jack, my children, love them too, and the pug Spencer loves them too. If we run out of dog food, we give him.
Well, let me tell you something else that's still there, and I don't know if it's under the name now. You know, you had Lance peanuts, and Lance peanuts were bigger peanuts, and then you had Tom's peanuts. The company was located in Columbus, Georgia. It was Tom's Toasted Peanuts.
Yeah.
And you would take that peanuts and either a Pepsi Cola, and a lot of times I would drink Pepsi Cola back then because it was a bigger drink. Pepsi Cola was like this, and the Coca Cola was like this. So when I was growing up,
you used to buy the Cokes and you would pull them out. Remember those little things?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you a little story about that in a minute.
Well, go
ahead. But about the Tom's Toasted Peanuts. I still take that right now and take the Diet Coke, or back then it was a Pepsi Cola, and I'd put the peanuts in the drink. I still do that.
A lot of people do that.
I enjoy that. And for for a quarter, I could walk up the street and get a bag of Tom's Toasted Peanuts and a Pepsi Cola for a quarter, and I'd come back home and I'd put those peanuts in that drink, and I was in hog heaven.
Yeah.
But, you know, those are some trends.
He's 73 today.
Those are some
that
trends.
takes you back to when you were, what, 10 years old?
That's right. And there's still a lot more candy bars out there this morning. I said Butternut. I said,
Butterfinger.
Yeah, Butterfinger. My favorite, one of my favorites today is your, oh gosh, it's like, it's a white candy bar. I mean, it's a white chocolate.
I know.
What is it?
My favorite.
I eat them every day.
I think my favorite was the Nestle's Crunch Bar. Did y'all have that one back when you were a kid?
No, I didn't go in for Nestle's Crunch.
Oh man, they were
come
good.
on now. What is it? Is it Zero? A Zero. Man, I love a Zero today. Don't you? You ever buy a Zero at the store?
No, I've never been a Zero.
You know what a Zero is?
I'm gonna try one though.
Well, it's got a gray wrapping with blue letters, and it says Zero on it, and it's white chocolate with almonds, and it's good.
I remember going to Grandma Lucy.
What a topic this morning, candy bars.
You know, grandmamas are great, and they would always have stuff for the grandkids. Yeah. And one thing grandmama always had, for some reason, she always had sun drops. Yeah. I don't know why she got into the sun drops.
What, the drink sun drop? Yeah.
I think my grandfather had a bunch of them out of the highway department or something where he worked, but we always had sun drops. But she had the little miniature candy bars. A lot of them you mentioned, and she had them in a little blue bowl. I can picture it now, and you could just go in and grab you a handful of. It's a mix of crackle bars, Hershey bars.
Oh yeah, Mr. Goodbar. Mr. Goodbar was another candy bar that I still like today. A Mr. Goodbar. Now, you had Coca-Cola. You know, of course, Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola, and RC Cola, Royal Crown.
Is RC still out there?
Yeah, well, I think you can still buy it somewhere. You know, then you had Dr. Pepper, and you had.
What's a good time to drink Dr. Pepper?
How about Grape-Co? You remember Grape-Co? I still like Grape-Co.
I never really liked it.
You don't like Grape-Co?
I can drink it.
It's not a real strong. Now listen,
I could drink. Change of pace drink, I guess.
I could drink Grape-Co, but I couldn't drink Knee-High. Knee-High had the strawberry drink, the peach drink, and the, but it was a strong flavor.
You know,
I didn't like that.
Piggly Wiggly, I think, has just introduced a line of soft drinks, or maybe they've always had them, but they've been selling them lately. 25 cents a drink. They are good.
What?
Peach soda, orange soda. They've got a knockoff of Dr. Pepper and Mr. Pig.
That was a Knee-High. Have you ever heard of Knee-High?
Yeah,
That was a Knee-High. It was a taller drink. And then you had your Lotta Cola. They came out with that bigger drink called Lotta Cola. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. I remember, what was the first diet drink? Tab. Ugh.
Tab, oh yeah, Tab. Now, you also had a drink called B1, and it was like a Sprite or 7-Up. You know, you had 7-Up and B1. And then later on came Sprite. Coca-Cola came out with Sprite.
Then came Mellow Yellow and...
Yeah, Mellow Yellow.
Sun Drops in the Mellow Yellow thing.
You're right, Sun Drops. And, you know... of course, Dr. Pepper.
I love Dr. Pepper and Mr. Pibb. Which is,
Mr. Pibb, but you see it every now and then.
Dr. Pepper.
Exactly right.
And now Piggly Wiggly has a version called Mr. Pig.
Yeah. Another drink that, another candy bar we haven't mentioned was Butterfinger. A lot of people love Butterfingers. And
oh, Kit Kat. The Kit Kat.
Yeah. But I still today like you know, a Payday and you know, those candy bars. I still buy a candy bar every now and then. No question.
You know, I was in the newspaper business for a long time, and I guess I was bad procrastinator, was a bad planner, and because of that, I always had to pull a lot of all-nighters to finish big editions.
Yeah.
Special editions. And man, I would just load up on, when I knew I had to pull one of these all-nighters, I'd load up on caffeine, Cokes, and candy bars.
Well, let me tell you, one of my favorite things now that I can't stay away from is called a Hershey's Nugget. And it's a it's Hershey candy with almonds in it, and a big, nice almonds, nice sized almonds in that. And you order it in the package, and it's a Hershey nugget. And with almonds, and it is wonderful.
Hershey
wonderful.
is in Pennsylvania, isn't it?
Hershey, exactly. It's a town called Hershey.
Yeah, because I remember I was close to it one time when I went up north, but I think we talked about going to the Hershey
and one we missed, and gosh, how in the world can we miss Baby Ruth? Whoa, man, what a great candy bar. And I still like Baby Ruth.
Well, we've named about 25. They're more than I thought.
Let me tell you this. One of my favorite places to go is the dollar store.
Dollar General?
Not Dollar General, but the...
Have you ever been in Dollar General?
Oh, many times.
Okay.
Gee, oh, gosh, I wish I'd owned stock in Dollar General. You know?
I even commented to my wife about 8 years ago, we need to buy stock in Dollar General.
What is everything in there is $1. What's the name of it?
The Dollar Store.
Dollar Store, okay. I go to the Dollar Store to buy my glasses. I buy 10 glasses at a time usually for $1. That's where I get them. And then some of my, like Mr. Goodbar, they got a bunch of these little miniature Mr. Goodbars in there, and
these candy bar sizes have shrunk through the years.
And I tell you something else they have. They were talking about great buys. They've got a salted almond, you know, just in a little package that is really good. That you get it and it's the only place I know that you can get it is at this dollar store, or well, not the dollar store, but.
What was the 5 and dime store on the square?
That was Elmore's.
But they had a popcorn. They made popcorn in there. Then they had those peanuts that were, you know, good, like ball game peanuts.
Yeah.
It had a certain smell when you went in there. That was.
Yeah, exactly. Now, right now, the best place to me to buy popcorn is located at just off Highway 231. Bud Casey, who used to be on the show, loved popcorn. And he would go out to the theater and just walk in and buy the popcorn and leave. and theater popcorn, it just tastes so much better than others,
It does. I mean, it's expensive, but you got to have it. I mean, it's not a movie experience unless you have some buttered popcorn and a big Coke.
And what's our new grocery store here in Troy on the bypass? The new one, that's
Publix and
Publix.
Walmart.
Publix. Publix has a popcorn that's real good. I buy that. I just love a little popcorn every now and then, and I don't know if it loves me. I don't know if I should.
Me too. Yeah, it doesn't agree with me anymore, but I love it.
But no question about it. And Publix has brought to Troy a lot of unique things. One of them is, you can always, you're just a few minutes from getting a good dessert with those pies that they make.
Yeah, Publix is
especially the pie. What is it? The green pie. What's the name of it?
Oh, key lime pie.
Key lime pie. That's a product that brings people to your store, because people love their
Those
pies.
Pies are good, but man, the price of them has gone up. I can remember when you could get them for $2.50, $3, and now they're $7.
At the beach, there's a place called Buddy's, and people buy shrimp there, and it is a great place to buy seafood. But they have the key lime pie, and they've gone up to $13 or $14 for a pie. But you can go to Publix and buy it for $8.95. Publix just, everybody talks about Publix, being a little bit more expensive. But let me tell you, if you start adding up on these buy one get one frees, that's where they that's where you save money. Like Ritz crackers, I ate a lot of Ritz crackers with cheese, and so yesterday I bought one and got one free. It's it's a lot of items out there. Cereals. You can catch cereals, buy one, get one free, and save money.
Yeah, when you go to Publix, you got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no question. And I'm glad we've got Publix. It gives us another choice, and I love their sandwiches. I think they make wonderful sandwiches.
I remember, I lived in Montgomery and Pike Road for 10 years, and I remember when they came to Montgomery, what a big deal. They didn't just open one store; they opened like 4 at one time, and then just.
Well, and of course,
when Dixie said, "Oh no,"
well, Enterprise got one before Troy, and Troy was always after that Publix, they have, it's a quality place to buy groceries, and of course Piggly Wiggly. I bought several ears of corn yesterday from Piggly Wiggly. I had some people over last night. Or was driving through and stopped by for dinner, and it's just great to have a good variety of grocery stores.
Piggly Wiggly is still owned by the Garrett family, right?
Yeah, they have their produce is next to none.
They were IGA, and I'm glad. I like the Piggly Wiggly switch over to Piggly Wiggly.
Oh yeah. Piggly Wiggly is a big operation. You know where it's located, don't you? The operation. You know where the Piggly Wiggly location is? Geneva. Yeah, it started right there in Geneva, Alabama.
Get out of town.
And now let me tell you another story.
That's a claim to fame for Alabama. Well, they're all over the South, aren't they?
And the folks that own Piggly Wiggly were related to the Chapmans right here in Troy.
Well, I knew we had kin folks from Geneva because we went to a big family reunion in Geneva once.
That's right. And their last names, it starts with a B, and I can't remember it right now, but they sold out to the big operators now. With Cisco, I want to say Cisco. That's a big operation in Geneva, Alabama.
Wow.
And I'm trying to think of that family that owned the Geneva. I mean the.
Well, we had a Piggly Wiggly. Where was it in Troy earlier? It was. Was it in Uncle Bill's shopping center?
We used to have one right below Love Street. There used to be one there, for years and so forth. Piggly Wiggly is huge.
And then the IGA was right where the Harveys.
Yeah.
Well, it was several different grocery stores. It wasn't it Big Bear or.
We had a Big Bear at one time where Food World was. That I still think that's a real good location out there. The one that closed for a grocery store. You don't have to go across the bypass. A lot of people want to be able to shop on this side of the bypass because there's so much traffic on the other side. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? And a grocery store would have, it's right there where the dollar.
We don't talk about this much, but the traffic on 231 at some points is really bad. In the future, something's going to have to be done. The only thing I think that could be done would be a bypass of the bypass. But
which would take years.
That would take 50 years or 100 years.
Exactly right.
They've been talking. I did a story on it 20 years ago, and nothing's happened.
All right, our filling station on the bypass is coming back, and it looks like it's going to be really nice. Located right next to
old
McDonald's.
Sheffield's. Remember when it was Sheffield's?
Yeah, you remember when it was Sheffield's. In fact, there was a guy in our neighborhood used to take all the kids to get ice cream at Sheffield's. Danny Kelly used to do that, and those kids just loved him for it. They put them all in the back of your truck. That's something you don't see anymore.
We need another gas station going north on Highway 231. Yeah. So I'm glad that's.
Yeah, well, there's a good piece of property right before you get to 29, right there on that's been leveled off for. Probably for
a gas station.
Yeah, I don't know if they've sold the property or not, but it's a good location.
Oh, near my neighbor, near Hillcrest, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
That was Good Buddies. Remember, that did good business when I was in high school, and then it's been closed forever.
Yeah. Of course, you were a rich kid. You were born. He was from Hillcrest, and you were born in a brick house. Is that right?
I was born in. I was living in. My mom and dad were living in an apartment in Birmingham.
Everybody on north of Thrill Hill, most of them lived in a wooden house.
I'll tell you, I was born at UAB Medical Center, and this one story I remember is Mom was getting ready to have me, and she told the story about who came to see her right before she had the baby was the former Alabama great quarterback Pat Tremmel.
Yeah.
He was becoming a doctor. He was doing his internship or residency there.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And he said, Marsh, you want me to give you an examination? And she said, heck no. But a couple years later after that, Pat Tremmel passed away.
Yeah, that was really sad when that happened. And, he was a quarterback that led Alabama to the 1961 National
Dad
Championship.
said that when he saw him, Pat Tremmel, that day, when he came to check on Mama and soon to be me, said he looked so tired because I think these doctors, don't they do these long stints?
Well, of course, his daddy was a doctor in Scottsboro. That's where he was from. And, and of course, the stadium's named after Pat Tremmel now in Scottsboro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he drove a sports car. He was a rich kid. Played quarterback. Daddy was a big doctor. Back then, all the local doctors like the Tip Collies and
everybody talks about
Dr. Brantley's. All of them were rich.
Everybody talks about Pat Dye being this good old boy, country farmer that grew up like Coach Bryant. He was. His parents were farmers, I think, but Dad says no, they were wealthy farmers.
Exactly, no question. And back then, if you were a good player, you normally either went to Auburn or Alabama, and Troy would get some of the drop-offs. But at one time, they could sign as many players as they wanted to. Which was
Dad
crazy.
and Bud went in the same recruiting class at Alabama, and I think I've heard that they had 60 or 70.
And to this day, 1961, and I told you I was born to this day in 1947, but in 61 I would have been, 13, 14 years old, and I can name almost every player on that 61 team.
Well, you've done it, and it's amazing, but I think I'm the same way. When I was 13 years old, I could have named every Alabama player.
And I also was a big baseball. I don't know if I should put I'll just say this. You better start wearing this when you leave the premises of your home. Wear these face masks. All right. I reached in and I keep a lot of information here. This was something that I wrote down, some of the great baseball players of all times. But back in the 60s, I used to keep up with this. And let me just tell you let me tell you just how well I know these names, because I'm going to tell you what team they played on. Mickey Mantle played with the Yankees. Willie Mays played with the New York Giants. Hank Aaron played with the Milwaukee Braves. Sandy Koufax played with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ted Williams played for the Boston Red Sox. Roberto Clemente played for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Stan Musial played first base for the St. Louis Cardinals. Bob Feller pitched for Cleveland. Warren Spahn pitched for Milwaukee. Pete Rose played second base for the Cincinnati Reds. Frank Robinson played for the Baltimore Orioles. Tom Seaver pitched for the Mets. Duke Snyder pitched for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Harmon Killebrew played third base for the Washington Senators. Al Kaline played right field for the Detroit Tigers. Robin Roberts played with a pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. Bob Friend was a pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Johnny Antonelli was a pitcher for the New York Giants. Early Wynn was a pitcher for the Cleveland Indians. Bob Lemon was a pitcher of the Cleveland Indians. Ernie Banks played shortstop for the Chicago Cubs. Eddie Matthews played third base for the Milwaukee Braves. Al Rosen played third base for the Cleveland Indians. Jim Palmer pitched for the Baltimore Orioles. Johnny Bench caught for the Cincinnati Reds. Carl Yastrzemski played left field for the Boston Red Sox. Bob Gibson pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals. Brooks Robinson played third base for the Baltimore Orioles. Don Sutton pitched for the Dodgers. Don Drysdale pitched for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Juan Marichal pitched for the San Francisco Giants. Yogi Berra caught for the New York Yankees. Whitey Ford pitched for the New York Yankees. Bill Necro pitched for the Atlanta Braves. Rod Carew played right field for the
California Angels.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. I might have had a problem there. Nolan Ryan played for the Angels, great pitcher. Reggie Jackson played for the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees. Joe Morgan played second base for the Cincinnati Reds. Catfish Hunter pitched for the Yankees and for Oakland. Steve Carlton pitched for the Philadelphia Phillies. George Brett played third base for the George Brett.
What was that?
George Brett played for Montreal.
Didn't Chase Reynolds sign Steve Carlton?
And that's right, he sure did. And Willie Stargell played first base for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
We are family.
Lou Brock played center field for the St. Louis Cardinals.
I thought he played second.
Roger Maris played right field for the New York Yankees.
I thought Lou Brock played second base.
But no, Lou Brock played center field. The guy that played second base, well, Lou Brock might have played some second base. You're right, but he also, I think, played center field. You're right, because the guy that played center field was Kurt Flood. But let me just tell you this. I knew my baseball back then.
I could have named 95% of those, but now let's talk about that. Once I knew all those players and could name you the starting lineup for the Reds and the A's and the Yankees and the Red Sox. I bet I couldn't name 10 Major League Baseball players today.
Me either.
I mean,
from the mid.
I'm trying to think in my head. I mean, who was? I couldn't name 10. Yeah. So I mean, something happened between the 70s and today where I tuned out Major League Baseball.
Now let me tell you a little something. And I'm not bragging this morning. I'm just telling you how we didn't have a whole lot to fool around with. But from the mid 50s to the mid 60s, I kept up with baseball like you wouldn't believe. And I had baseball cards. Now, the John Key, who just moved back to Troy, he'll vouch for this. You could hold that card and show me that one eye of that person, of that player, and I could tell you who it was. Mm-hmm. Now, is that crazy?
Wow.
I knew those baseball cards that well, and that's how I was able to go through that so quick. Now, you notice how quick. I just picked this up. This has been laid over here for the last 4 or 5 years, and I picked it up, and I was able. What I'm saying is, I can't remember half the things now out there. I mean, I can't remember a darn thing, but I can remember who all these guys played for. And it's about like the Little League Baseball here in town.
There was only like 2 of them that I didn't know. I'd never heard of Johnny Antonelli or
Johnny Antonelli was
Early
a pitcher.
Wynn. I'd maybe heard of him. But
you know where he's from? Is Hartford, Alabama. Early Wynn. He was a great pitcher. He was all a famous pitcher. This is kind of a
random list from all different eras. I knew all the great Cincinnati Reds.
And I wonder if you could pay for those guys today.
The other thing players stuck together with one team for 10 years.
Yeah.
Football was the same way. I mean, the Raider teams and the Dolphin teams, That's not the case anymore. These players do not.
And I'll tell you a little bit about
the lineup of a team would not change for 7 or 8 years.
Now, a lot of them didn't have it about 10. It wasn't near as many teams as it is now. Probably, well, when these guys played, there were probably 20. The American League probably had 20 teams or 15 teams, and the National League had about 10 or 15 teams. Today, they have about 30 teams each.
Are they going to play baseball this year? I heard they're going to try to get a 60-game schedule in.
I don't know. Yeah, we're going to take a short break. We just wanted to throw some things out to you this morning, and we're having fun with reminiscing old times.
Potpourri, hodgepodge, anything goes.
Let me just tell you this. Hey,
if you don't like this topic, don't worry. We're going to change.
You had to be innovative growing up. Where I grew up, you didn't have TV all the time.
Use your imagination.
Use your imagination. I played stickball for hours and hours in my backyard, and hey, we went down to the creek and caught.
Can you make a
horny? Well, they were called horny heads.
I bet you can make a good paper airplane, can't you?
Pretty good one.
I've been trying to make some for my kids, and I can't remember the cool way I used to do it. Now, I can still make some, but they're not flying like I want to. Yeah. But I remember as a kid spending a lot of time making paper airplanes.
Do you remember Don Maestrid's basketball team?
Yeah.
One of the fundraisers that they had was at the halftime of the games, you would make your paper airplane, and you would throw it out to the middle of the court. If you were closer to the star in the middle of the court, you won the prize.
They had some
original. And there were hundreds of paper airplanes, and you could tell that some folks knew how to make a paper airplane better than others. And some of them, this is old Wright Hall. I mean, not Wright Hall, but old Sartain Hall. And a lot of them would go to the top steps back there, and the plane would just drift down from the top, and it was really something.
That's probably why half the people came to the game.
Don Maestri was just a great coach, but he was an innovative coach.
He promoted that program. Remember, he had the Showtime when he first came.
Yeah, exactly.
The Harlem Globetrotters.
You know who rode the unicycle?
Everybody knows that.
Tell us the girl that rode the unicycle.
The beautiful and sweet Kim Barnett, Eddie's big sister.
And she would come out on the unicycle in front of the team, and would come out, and they would start doing the old fancy Harlem Globetrotters
song. That whistle song.
And what was the name of that tune that they played? Yeah, that's right. Sweet
Georgia Brown.
Georgia Brown, that's what it was. And it was really something to see. And they had the balls.
He did. I remember he came to Charles Henderson High School. How he did this, I don't know.
The guy that spun the balls?
No, Maestri. And he got, the principal gave him the microphone. He got to speak to the whole student body and just push his program and say, everybody come to the game.
That's right. Let me tell you the key to that was.
One, he said, I'm going to go to Charles Henderson and get these students. Two, he talked the principal into letting him talk at an assembly. It was probably some football assembly or something, but he said, we're going to give Coach Maestri 10 minutes. Everything he could do to get people to come, and over time it worked.
And the key was this: you get a kid to come to the ball game, but he's got to have somebody to bring him. His mama, his daddy, his aunt, his uncle, or his brothers and sisters.
That's the old parade philosophy.
That's right.
If you put some kids in the parade, who has to come to the parade?
And they've got to buy. They got to buy tickets. Let the kids in free, but the parents that brought them to the game would.
Put a Cub Scout group in the parade, and then your mom and dad are going to come to the parade.
Exactly right.
Too.
We're going to take a short break, brought to you by Troy Bank and Trust Company, the only bank you'll ever need.
We've been doing business the right way for 31 years, and now we've approached a year at the all-new Bill Jackson Ford. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
I would recommend Bill Jackson to friends and family. Environment was just friendly.
It's a short drive from anywhere.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they say Jackson Satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson Satisfaction.
It was out there.
Is this Corona deaths? Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Cinco Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. Now, Cinco's Drugs, that big, tall building is the oldest building in Troy. You know that.
I think the Princess Theater was once in that building.
Well, and also the teenage canteen was there. Back when your daddy was growing up,
they had
and your mother, that's where they went to
what? To bop or dance? And
oh yeah, to bop, yeah. And they'd open. It'd be on the second floor, and as a kid, I used to watch them, and they raised all the windows so they have some cool air. And those kids hung out at right above. Back then was
Mama, that's everybody.
I want to say Bird Waters.
Yeah.
Bird Waters.
Everybody could dance.
That's right.
Nobody in my generation could dance. I mean, real dances, couple dances.
And then when I got old enough, we moved down the street to the old Shell station, and I love to dance. It's part of my life. Is
how did you learn? Who taught you?
Going to the canteen and so forth, and doing the old PC bop, and I've got music right now that will knock your socks off with the old 50s and 60s, and
on the jukebox.
It tickled me one day is to put a makeshift floor up or whatever, and I could get Miss Jo Rape, who is one of my dearest friends growing up. She was Mary Jo Bruce. She married Norman Rape. And they're very, very happily coupled. Everybody knows Jo was a great cheerleader coach, but she's perhaps one of the top 1, 2, or 3 boppers to ever come through Troy.
I wish I'd
She's a great dancer, and then her cousin,
she's a legendary figure with that cheerleading program at Charles Simpson High School.
Her cousin, Mary Jean Williams, is also one of the top boppers in the state of Alabama, and she was born. Of course, Jo was a little bit younger than she was, and they were all great boppers, but. Oh, I could go.
Who were some of the beautiful cheerleaders of your day?
Well, let's see here. Let me write them down here. You had Mary Jo
Bruce.
Mary Jo Bruce. You had Paula Boatner Roses. You had Margaret Griffin. You had I'm trying to think of all of them. You had Eileen Williford Walker. You had Donnie Morgan Ingram.
Yeah.
You had Ann Stevens. You had all these girls who grew up right around each other. You had Dorothy Robinson was a cheerleader. You had you had Ronnie Morgan was a cheerleader. Wanda was a cheerleader. Just thinking of cheerleaders. Betty Davis, I think, was a cheerleader. I'm throwing all these out, but
let me throw out some from my era. I will start with Rush's class. He was class 79. Kim Carter, who became a cheerleader at Auburn, famous cheerleader.
That's right. My mama lives 2 doors up from me.
I think the same time she was a cheerleader. I think Pam Costige, Nick Costige's daughter was a cheerleader. She was so good at the acrobatics. She could just do cartwheels up and down the basketball gym.
Well, being a cheerleader was a real big thing back then. You're on today in L.A. Good morning.
Hi, man. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. What I like is a mini, or more.
Where were you born 73 years ago?
Old Beard Hospital, located at the end of Walnut Street.
Not there anymore. That's where Rush was born.
Old Beard Hospital. Dr. Stewart, William P. Stewart, delivered me. And I've lived happily ever after in Troy, Alabama.
How much do you weigh as a baby?
What now?
How much do you weigh as a baby?
I was pretty big, 8 or 9 pounds, I think.
What time were you born? You remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I'm going by your old house as we speak, leaving Troy.
You're doing what? You're going right by my old house where I was born and raised?
That's right.
Well, I tell you what, many a ear of corn and many fresh peas were partaken in that house over the years. The best fried chicken, probably some of the best cornbread muffins were made in that house. Hey, the best chocolate pie was made in that house.
How many siblings do you have?
The best sweet tea. I had 2 brothers, one Joel, who's 3 years older than me, and then Bill, the oldest, was 12 years older than me.
Oh, so quite a age gap there.
And of course,
I'm about pulling the Clyde Mays Distillery and get something to drink from my way to Birmingham.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's not open yet, but it's going to be open one day.
We're going to build this thing.
I don't know.
No either.
We're talking about the distillery that is supposed to be built in Troy for too long. And Mike, I went over a bunch of baseball players and back in the old days, and you look at every one of them; they were all Hall of Famers.
George Brett didn't play for the Expos. George Brett played for the Royals.
All right, that's right. I got it mixed up. That's the only one I missed. Was that right? That's right.
No, I should have caught that. Everybody knows George Brett.
Somebody played for the Montreal team, though. You know, that's one place I've never been. Is Montreal.
What was that guy? Andre Dawson.
Andre Dawson.
He played for the Montreal Expos. He later played for the Cubs, I think. But
Andre's going.
Boy, the Expos had the ugliest uniforms and the ugliest stadium. Where did they move to? The Expos.
The Expos moved to, where did they go?
They became the Washington Nationals, didn't they?
No, I don't think so.
I think that was later.
Maybe, but, I don't know that. I really don't.
Maybe they didn't move
I'll tell you who had the ugliest uniforms ever is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Oh, that was the ugliest, especially when they had that crazy-looking hat. You remember when they had that
when they won that World Series in the late 70s, it was ugly.
And then that yellow, that was the ugliest uniform around.
And they had a pitcher named Ken Colby. Remember him?
Oh, well, I sure don't. No.
How can I know?
But if you go between 55 and 65, I'm pretty good, but I'm not very good after that. But I had some of my all-time great. It's amazing how at random I mention all these guys, and I promise you, almost every one of them, and I'm thinking almost every one of them are Hall of Famers,
including Don Sutton from
Clio.
We're gonna claim him in Clio.
And let me tell you this: the Suttons, my good friends, and Granny, and all you folks. Hope y'all are doing well, and I tell you.
And then Chase Riddle signed Steve Carlton, who's kind of a strange bird, wasn't he?
Carter was a great player, though.
I know, but
he's a Hall of Famer.
Let's say, in his private life, he was kind of different.
He also signed the Cruz brothers, Jose Cruz and Manny, but he signed the Cruz guys. See, Chase used to go down to the Dominican Republic and sign a lot of players for
he signed Manny Mota?
Yeah, Manny Mota, I think that. And
how would he do that? He would just go and sit in the bleachers and watch these kids?
That's right, exactly.
Talk to the coaches and talk to them later?
He stayed on the road all the time with St. Louis. And of course, let me tell you this. Every time St. Louis won a title and got a ring, Chase Riddle got one. And, of course, he was very well known. The Bush family knew him very well. No question about it. Got another call coming in. I'm going to put you on hold, Mike. Good morning, you're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Happy birthday, Michael. Big Mike.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, brother. Happy birthday. I appreciate it. What's going on with you?
Your son was correct. They became the Washington Nationals, and some of their players they were expos for Gary Carter, Andre Dawson, Rusty Staub, and Tim Raines.
I remember those guys.
Yeah, those are good players right there.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, red-headed Rusty Staub.
They had some good, but they never really drew big crowds, if I remember. And that's the stadium that they had the Olympics in 1976, where Bruce Jenner won the decathlon, and Sugar Ray Leonard was the star boxer.
Bart, are you over your ailment?
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm okay.
Yeah. I couldn't help but think of Humpty Dumpty. Had a great fall.
Yeah.
What's your weekend gonna be like, Forrest?
Well, I may get stuff together and have a yard sale in the morning.
Oh, really? Okay, good. We need to publicize that.
Yeah, what you got? You're gonna sell?
I got stuff in the shed, some woodworking stuff I've done, and clothes.
How about some fresh vegetables? How about that?
They may need picking. They got picked over the day before yesterday. They may be out there.
Let me put you on hold a second and bring Mike back in here. Hold on a minute.
I bumped into Gary Kinberg yesterday at
he's a good man, great cook.
Firehouse Subs. He's a fascinating man, and he collects gems and rocks, and he was telling me about that. But he also, like Forrest, has his own garden, and he gave me 2 homegrown tomatoes.
Oh, I would love it.
So thank you, Gary.
All right, Mike Amos is in with us this morning, along with Forrest Gump. Forrest, ladies and gentlemen, our good friend Forrest Lee. And Forrest, are they going to make you change your name, my friend?
I don't think so.
He had it well before that movie came out.
That's right, no question about it.
But that movie was a book first, written by who?
I don't know.
Forrest, you know?
But Greenbow.
Who wrote the book Forrest Gump?
It's a guy out of Mobile. I got a signed copy.
Yeah, he lives in Fairhope now.
It's one of the best shows ever.
His name is Winston Groom. He went to the University of Alabama, and he's written a lot of books, a lot of them on history, believe it or not. He wrote a great book on World War I.
You know, Greenbow was considered Greenville, Alabama. Greenbow.
You know who Winston Groom was? A fraternity brother of Mr. Hendricks.
Oh, really?
Ken Hendricks.
I didn't know that, yeah. But, of course, that was a great movie, and we're talking about old times today. Back when I was growing up, you had the Pike Theater, where it's located over there where the police station is. That was a Pike Theater. And then the Ensor Theater was located over there where the Troy Bank and Trust Company used to be.
And then the library.
It was the library, and still is Troy Bank Trust Company in the back end of that building. And that was old Ensor Theater, and that's where we went to watch Cowboys every Saturday. You know.
That's where Mom would go and release her lightning bugs.
What, inside there?
Yeah, inside it. You'd get them in a little jar, mason jar. You capture them, and then you'd go, and when it got real dark, you'd let them.
That's exactly right. Back when I was growing up, that was one of the things we did at night was catch lightning bugs. And what you do, you'd have the top to a glass container.
Holes punched in.
Exactly right. Who's that talking this morning? Well, somebody must be getting some food somewhere. Is that right?
I'm not at a drive-through.
Okay, Farsi, you at a drive-through?
No, I'm here at my living.
Oh, we're having fun this morning, ladies and gentlemen, on Today in L.A. We're on Facebook across the nation.
What do you think the biggest movie, the most popular, most attended movie from your era in Troy was that you remember going to see it one of those movies?
Well, I'll tell you, probably.
Blockbuster movies, like Jaws was a huge one when I was a kid, and Star Wars was a big one.
I remember going to a birthday party for Randy Brown, gave a birthday party, and we're talking about 7 and 8 year old kids, maybe even younger than that. They took us to the Ensor Theater, and we saw the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
And I've never forgotten it. And I talked to Randy about that years and years afterwards, and he remembers that so well that his mother believed in that show so much, as far as what it depicted, that she had 20 kids, took 20 kids from his birthday party to that show.
Hard to picture anybody but Charlton Heston playing Moses. He did a great
and when
job.
they divided the ocean, that would be something you never forget, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that movie holds up. It's really
That's
good.
right. I want to mention
some of the blockbuster movies of my era that I remember were Jaws was a huge, big thing. Saw that in Auburn, Alabama. Star Wars, I was living in Mobile briefly. That was a huge movie. The Exorcist was a huge movie. I didn't see that, of course, but my brother snuck in and went to see it when he was about 8th grade. And he later had these terrible nightmares.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We're watching that?
I think that was 1973. The Godfather, I remember being really big.
See, The Godfather to me is one of the all-time great
movies. Then I moved
movies.
to Troy. I can remember seeing, they made the Pike Theater, the Pike Triple. And one of the first movies I remember seeing upstairs in the little theater, the Pike Triple, was Caddyshack.
That was a great show, yeah. That was a great, funny show.
I was in high school, and went on a weeknight and saw that.
And it's just so many movies out there. Of course, I'll put The Godfather down as one of the all-time great movies, and then Gone with the Wind.
Oh, well, yeah. That's the all-time great.
And people still say, frankly, dear, I don't give a damn. Is that right? Is that one of the things Red Butler said to his...
it was a huge publishing success for this lady, Margaret Mitchell, who just was a minor newspaper writer in Atlanta.
From Atlanta, yeah.
And it became a publishing sensation, and so there was all this anticipation about the movie, because the book was, and will they get it right? And who was it, David O. Selznick, that produced it and almost killed him producing it, but he got it right.
Yeah, I'm a huge...
What other movies is Red Butler in, other than Gone with the Wind?
Of course, he was a great actor back then, but you're right. None of the big time ones. You don't remember Clark Gable.
Yeah, he was in big movies at the time, but really they haven't held up as well over the time.
And then
he was a huge movie star.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah, no question back then. No question about it.
Who could you picture in that role except him? That's been a big debate. Hardly anybody, although I thought that, Errol Flynn was a big star back then that played Robin Hood.
Yeah,
I think Errol Flynn maybe could have pulled off that role, but probably not.
I think if you had it'd be 3 or 4 great actors out there. Now, Clint Eastwood's not going to win a lot of Academy Awards or anything like that, but he played in more good shows to watch than I can ever remember anybody else.
He was the #1 movie star in America for many years in a row. And then another one about that time was Burt Reynolds. Was a big, as far as being popular with the masses.
Yeah, that's right. But Josie Wells and just so many of those good, bad, and ugly.
The Outlaw Josie Wells was written by a man from Alabama. Nobody knows that.
Really? Okay.
As well as George Wallace's speechwriter, Asa Carter, that wrote the Segregation Today, Segregation Tomorrow, Segregation Forever speech that lives in infamy. It was written by the guy that wrote The Outlaw Josie Wells. The book.
I did not know that. That was unusual.
Dad wrote a column about that one. His book was not called The Outlaw Josie Wells. It had a different title, but he sold the film rights, and that's the movie it became.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And he was then, he changed his name too, so he had this infamous reputation from his quote-unquote segregationist days. Changed his name, completely reinvented himself, wrote some big environmental book that was semi-popular, and then he wrote The Outlaw Josie Wells.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Well, that's something, and of course, a lot of people have their favorite actors now. Another one that I think is one of the great actors out there would be, and if you want to call it the name of he was the Went Up in the Mountains. What was his name? Went Up in the Mountains.
Oh, Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah.
And
what about the Deer Hunter? I think the
Deer Hunter was a good show, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where Robert De Niro got his start. Did y'all know that?
Yeah, probably so.
On the Deer Hunter.
He was in another movie that was really good that you don't see anymore called The Mission. Y'all remember that one? I think he killed his brother in a fit of anger, and he was just so guilty. He devoted his whole life to trying to repent from that crime.
Exactly, yeah. And we're getting some backfiring, something's backfiring. Of course, this is Today in L.A., brought to you by Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. And Jason Gregory has it going. I'll tell you, they've got the biggest 4th of July sale in their history coming up. This going on right now and running through the 4th of July. If you want a deal now, and I'm talking about they'll beat anybody's deal on a Dodge, Chrysler, or Jeep, or Ram truck from their lot location on North 231 right here in Troy. I was by there the other day and had my oil changed and a few other things checked out and was out of there in 30 minutes.
But you said you didn't want to leave because you're having a good conversation with somebody.
That's right, yeah. I didn't want to leave because I had a great conversation. I said, can we wait a couple of minutes? How many times have you done that?
Yeah, a lot.
Been in a doctor's office or something and you would be carrying on the conversation and they would say, Mr. Amos? And I say, well, look, is it okay if I wait 2 or 3?
Well, it's like Jerry Chimberg and I. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. We bumped into each other at Firehouse, and we both had our food, and we ended up talking for 15 minutes after we got our food.
Also, we're going to come up with a nostalgia.
Hey, did y'all ever talk about the Future Masters going on in Dothan?
No, let's talk about it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we need to give any scores, though. I don't think.
Well, I mean, the kid from Nashville, though, that was 14, shot 62 2 straight days.
62, isn't that amazing? From Nashville, Tennessee.
14 years old.
Yeah.
Gosh.
On a tough golf course too. That Dothan
Well, let's give me his name. We're going to keep up with him, and
yeah.
Well, I was talking to Will about it yesterday. Will Matthews was telling me the story. He watched him play.
And how old is the kid?
14.
14.
And shot
what
62
is that? What bar is that course? 70?
I'm not sure.
Well, that's a 70, 71, something like that, I think. Very good golf course, though. And of course,
I'm signing off. I'll have a good weekend.
Hey, well, Forrest, listen, thank you so much, man, for being with us this week. And looking forward to seeing you, my friend.
See you, Forrest.
All right. Have a good weekend.
As far as leaving the house, and we appreciate him being a part of our
He
show.
might be doing a yard sale, so y'all be
if you got a yard sale this morning, call in. We'd love to publicize it.
Does Forrest live in your neighborhood?
No, he doesn't live in my neighborhood. He lives over in the country club. He's a rich guy. He lives on the country club side.
Who developed the country club neighborhood?
Robert Dunn, a long time ago. He lives over that area. That's where Troy's
Robert Dunn was. If any list of all-time great Troy characters,
he'd be one of them.
and you don't think about the top of it.
No question about it. Well, I'll say this about.
He built 231 too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he built.
He four-laned it or something.
Well, I don't know if he got all those contracts. There's a lot of different contractors on that, you know. He also built 65 now, more than 231. I think he worked on 65.
What Dad said in his book, or I've heard this story about Robert Dunn, what made him, he got one of these road construction contracts. You know, you got a bid, and so he got the bid. But what he figured out was he had to rent his equipment, right? All his heavy equipment. And so you're figuring all your costs. And what he had the brilliant idea to say, all right, I've got this equipment, but why do I have to just use it 12 hours during daylight? Why can't I use it at night? And so he got lights so that they could work at night, and so he could double the time that he used this equipment. And that allowed him to do this job much
I'll
cheaper.
tell you something else about him too. He flew his own plane, and he would fly into the sites. Hey, is this Mary Prater? Good morning. Mary Prater, good morning.
Not Mary Prater.
All right, is that Millie? I hear Millie. Are they both? All of them in the car going to Birmingham? Is that right? I don't hear them. Thank you. Thank you. Is that Millie or Mary Prater? These are my grandchildren, Michael's children.
That was both of them.
Okay. Of course, you outkicked your coverage when you married Lee, and you sure outkicked your coverage when y'all had those two wonderful children.
Wait a minute, you're saying Lee outkicked her coverage marrying me?
No. You outkicked your coverage marrying her.
No, she outkicked her coverage marrying me.
Yeah, I got you. Well, of course, y'all on your way to Birmingham, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to drop the girls off and head to the mountains, Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Oh, I've never been up there. Yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually a cool little town. It's kind of like a mini Highlands, I guess. They're turning it into up there. A lot of really good restaurants and bars and breweries.
What town is it?
Actually, Blue Ridge, Georgia. That's where we're staying. We're staying in a town called Blue Ridge.
I got you.
Tell us how it goes. We'll put that on the bucket list.
Surrounded by the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Well, a big fun place to be this weekend around here is Enterprise, where they had the Bama Jam night. They've turned that into a beautiful, wonderful water park and trailer, motorhome facility and all kinds of fun in that location. And it goes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I did a great article one day, Bill Rice. It's called an article about Bama Jam and those 2 or 3 years and all the huge music acts.
Oh, yeah.
And performers they had coming in there. I saw like Taylor Swift when she first started. You have Kenny Chesney, Hank Jr., Kid Rock, Greg Allman.
Yeah.
I mean, all these famous musicians played in a pasture.
And
outside of Enterprise.
Yeah, well, let me
that
tell
would
you.
Be a good story.
Let me tell you this: they've got country music coming in there this weekend for 2 or 3 days.
They got Clay Walker, who's a pretty famous guy.
Well, plus the guy that organized it is now in the penitentiary. He was in the penitentiary.
No, he's out.
Well, he's out.
Yeah, he's out. Been out. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a great story.
Well, let's don't bring up that. The positive story was it was wonderful event.
Well, that's just a point of
the musicians that played. That was incredible. The acts they got were incredible.
Oh yeah.
That's what makes it kind of more interesting is the guy that brought it.
He's doing it right now. Yeah. You're right. He's a great guy, great entertainer. Of course, it's going to be a lot of fun in Enterprise this weekend. So, and that theme park and that water park is wonderful. I mean, beautiful, and you'll really enjoy it. And call it Bama Slam, Mike.
Okay.
You've probably been or know about it. Is my wife went a couple of times. What's it called? Monterey, the big music festival.
Monterey in Tennessee, yeah.
I thought that was kind of like a Woodstock, but I watched the documentary on it, and most of the acts are playing under big tents, but it still has some commonalities to Woodstock. And then it sounds like this Bama Jam was the same way. I remember one they used to have in near us between Troy and Montgomery. Remember Sandy Creek? They would have some big...
I remember that for a while.
Why is the Atlantic place Sandy Creek? I'm about to pass it right now.
Man, that was our little version of Woodstock when I was in high school and college.
Bonnaroo is one of the biggest music festivals in the United States. It's huge.
You ever been?
I've never been. I used to go to a lot of shows, a lot of concerts. I've been to Memphis in May, and that's a really fun. Up in Memphis, I've been to 2 or 3 times.
Well, I go back to
Montgomery had Jubilee. I saw D.D. King at Jubilee in Montgomery one night, put on one of the best performances you'll ever see. And then Birmingham had city stages for years, but you don't have any of those anymore.
What happened?
Right.
What happened to them?
That's right.
I guess they didn't make money, or they
Well, listen, I go back to and we'll bring them on our show, the Big Bam summer shows. The Big Bam radio station would sponsor that, the summer show, the winter show, the fall show, and they bring in, I've seen the 4 seasons, I've seen Skeeter Davis, I've seen...
You're thinking about Bill J. Moody.
Bill J. Moody, and he lives in Dothan now, and he's
a friend of mine. I worked with him at Cumulus Radio in Montgomery. He's a fine guy.
That's right, he's a Hall of Famer, he's a great guy.
He was a well-known announcer and DJ, but then he went into sales and sold commercials.
Mike, somebody
I used to get Bobby Moore and the Rose Nations all the
Oh yeah, that Bobby Moore and I were good friends. He had a great band, and we really enjoyed him. I bugged him several times.
You know,
this is interesting. Just dropped on my desk just a moment ago. The corona deaths worldwide is 492,410, and at the same time, there were 5 million deaths caused by cancer. So still, cancer has a huge lead over the corona as far as the number of people that have died of cancer and the corona. But when is this all going to stop? Mike, Bill Rice Jr. has got a publication out right now. Tell us about it, Bill.
Well, my story that y'all heard me talk about on the McCain family of Sylacauga was published yesterday. The McCains believe they had COVID-19 in mid to late December. They've got the antibody tests that prove they had the antibodies. Tim McCain almost died on January 4th. He spent a month in the intensive care in the Birmingham hospital. Now, if he would have died on January 4th, which he came as close to dying as he can, he would have been the first COVID-19 fatality in the world, right here in Sylacauga, Alabama. The story hadn't been told. Well, it was told by a Birmingham TV station in a story that nobody picked up, but I did a big major feature story. It took me forever to find anybody to publish it. I don't understand that. But a site called uncoverdc.com, like uncover some story, and then DC is in the abbreviation for District of Columbia. They jumped at the story, and thank you to Tracy Beans, their editor, for publishing it. And I've got pictures, medical records, x-rays, pictures of Tim as he looked in ICU, a real in-depth feature story. So anybody that's interested in a story that, shows that COVID might have been circulating weeks or months before it's commonly believed, might enjoy reading that story.
And another thing about him, ladies and gentlemen, he was in just terrible, terrible shape, and he was able, because of the ventilators, I would think, was able to
Well, the ventilators, it's an open question whether they helped save him or made his condition worse, because I found a lot of research that says the ventilators might be killing people. But what did save him is something called a ECMO machine. They're very rare. Only a couple hospitals in Alabama even have them. But what it does is it pumps blood, draws blood out of your body, puts it in some kind of canister, swirls it around, oxygenates the blood, and then pumps it back into your body. So it kind of functions as your heart and lungs. He had to have that ECMO thing or he would have died. Yeah. And I think he's the first COVID-19 patient in the world whose life was saved by the ECMO machine.
Where do you get all this information? Of course, he's not a doctor, but you get it by research.
Here's how I got interested in this story. I kept hearing people say, I think I had COVID-19. Steve Camp's one of them in December, January. I thought I had it. And I said, well, I'm going to investigate this and see if there's any evidence to support that maybe all these people that had flu-like symptoms in January might have had COVID-19. I'm talking about people that tested negative for flu, so they didn't have flu. And then in doing this research, I posted a question on Facebook, and Barbara Barris White, Steve Barris's mom, said, Bill, here's a story you might be interested in. It was that story on the McCains that the WBRC Fox TV did.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I said, well, this is huge. Surely the New York Times following up on this. Zero. Nobody in America picked up on that story. I found the lady's telephone number, called her and said, I'm a reporter working on the same story. Would you talk to me? I'm sure you've been flooded by reporters. And she said, no, you're the first person that's followed up. And that's the backstory to, how that story came about.
And then, of course, and it's as factual as you can get.
Well, there's something called links, where you find a source, and you can underline it, and you can click on those words, and it will take you to the story that proves.
And that's what you do. You're a writer, and
a lot of it is not writing; it's researching scores of stories until you find some little nuggets of information that you can put in your story.
And again, if somebody would,
so do you tape all these conversations, or are you constantly writing down while you talk?
Yeah, the important ones that I think that somebody might call me and say that you need to prove that somebody said that. I do have a digital recorder. Others, I just take notes. It's real time consuming when you record one to go back and get it word for word. But with this interviews I did in this story, I tape recorded them and then spent hours transcribing them so every quote is perfect.
And then of course nobody has a patent on this information.
A copyright.
Copyright or whatever.
Well, now I guess UncoveredDC.com did. Their editor is, she was like me. She was dumbfounded that no other magazine or paper was interested in this story, and she says, we want you to keep writing for us. And I've read it. Their site looks pretty good. She's got 217,000 Twitter followers, which,
that's pretty good information.
Yeah.
Of course, again, this is not we say this all the time when we have different opinions on this. It's not the actual opinion of the Troy Cablevision, but at the same time, he has investigated this coming on our show and giving you that information.
And people can make up their own mind. That's all I do is present the evidence.
Of course, those X-rays and so forth.
Look at those. Look at
those. But it looks pretty rough.
Why I put those in there, and one of the telltale signs of the serious COVID patients is at about 10 days after they got their first symptoms, something starts really happening to their lungs. Terrible. And it goes from normal X-rays in a very short time to where it's just a mass of white. And that happened I've got X-rays from 10 o'clock on the night of January 1st. It's same X-ray at 4 o'clock in the morning on January 4th, 54 hours later. And man, the contrast is striking. Now, I put that in there because you look at almost all COVID patients that go on the ventilator that almost die, they go into something called ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. They all have the same X-ray profile. So I presented that to prove my case that Tim McCain likely had COVID-19 based on his medical records. Of course, he has an antibody test. His wife has an antibody test positive. Matter of fact, they had their symptoms in December, late December. Brandy got another antibody test 2 days ago, still positive. She still got antibodies for COVID-19 6.5 months later, which I say this couple has had antibodies for COVID longer than anybody in the world. And you tell me why the Department of Public Health or the CDC is not researching or talking to these. Wouldn't they want to know about these antibodies and why they're lasting so long in this couple?
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
And bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Napa know how. Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
Here at Bill Jackson Chevrolet in Troy, we've been doing business the right way for 31 years. But don't take our word for it. We feel our customers express it the best.
Been honest in everything we've discussed with them.
When they said Jackson Satisfaction, they really mean it.
The Jackson Satisfaction.
UncoverDC.com.
What's the name of the store?
Alabama man nearly died of COVID in January.
Pond Stalker. There's O'Reilly's.
Well, I know it.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and we appreciate them this morning. Also, Earl's Glass on South Grundy Street, and they can make your car look like new again. Hey,
how long
I don't care how many bumps and bruises that car or truck has. You get it.
I need to go see Earl's. I've got one of those cracks in my front windshield. I need to get fixed.
They're great people too, and we appreciate them very much. Want to mention also Bill Jackson Chevrolet, Bill Jackson Ford in Troy, located on Highway 231 North. And of course, we want to say good morning to all the great folks at Cinco's, and that Cinco family's been in the drugstore business a long time.
Fine folks.
Of course, the Withington Group, remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. I see Peregrine at the Withington Group. What now?
You think we'll have picket shows coming up soon?
I don't know. I hope so.
We ought to have a picking show saying whether we're going to have football.
I hope so. I tell you what, next week we'll start making some predictions. Hopefully, everybody loves Alabama, everybody loves Clemson, everybody loves Ohio State. What three of them do you think is going to be there? I would think it'd be one of those teams, wouldn't you think?
Maybe two of them.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, will all these teams play a full schedule? Will some teams go 8-0? Will some teams go 11-0?
Yeah.
12-0? Some teams play 8 games. You just don't know.
I know it. Mike, who is Georgia's quarterback going to be?
They got the quarterback, the transfer in from Wake Forest that was the starter.
And he's supposed to be really good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they also got J.T. Daniels, the former 5-star USC quarterback, but I don't know if he'll be eligible to transfer.
Yeah. We need to do a story on all these quarterbacks that were coming to Alabama and decided to transfer.
Yeah, little baby too is in Maryland now.
Alabama, really, they had the guy that left and went to Arkansas State, and was freshman of the year in the Sun Belt.
Yeah. Well,
and then you had Tallulah. He transferred.
Yeah,
Maryland.
The kid at Arkansas State was a transfer, wasn't he, from Alabama?
Yeah, that's what I said. He was a freshman of the
Hatcher,
year.
yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, he never even. I think he got in one down in the spring game is all they played him. So he did the right thing. He wasn't ever going to get a chance at Alabama. He might end up to be a very good quarterback. Already has proven to be a good quarterback.
No question about it. Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. That's where me and Rice are going to eat breakfast this morning.
No, I got to go take my wife is having an operation today.
I'm sorry. I forgot all about that. And, of course, I hope everything goes good.
Good luck. And we're thinking about my wife, Carrie, has to have her gallbladder removed in operation today.
No, this is take your order right here.
Well, I tell you what.
All right. Happy birthday, Dad.
Thank you very much. You have a great trip here. Enjoy yourself.
Y'all be careful.
I'll talk to y'all
And
Monday.
that's my son, Michael, on his way to the mountains.
Now, which one of the twins is older?
Camille. No, excuse me. Michael is. Michael. I tell that story.
How many minutes older is he?
11 minutes. 11 minutes. And they did not realize that this is the largest hospital in Montgomery. and that happened, gosh, 44 years ago, that these twins were born, and didn't realize.
Let me tell you about what a book I'm reading now. It's a mystery in the Agatha Christie genre. And one of the plot points is there's two twins born 12 minutes apart, and it's set in England, and the parents own this big, huge estate, and they had something in their provinces that said that the person that's going to inherit the estate is the firstborn of this couple. Well, the firstborn was actually a female, and then 12 minutes later, her brother came. Well, the rich guy that was daddy didn't want a girl to inherit his estate, so he convinced the doctor to say that the boy had been born first.
Yeah, exactly.
And then out of that, 40 years later, a lot of mischief ensues.
All right, now if you're at home, I'm sure it's fine to not have to wear a face mask, but if you're going to the grocery store, or you're going to the post office or the drugstore, or any place where there are a lot of people that frequently are in and out of, you need to wear this face mask to protect not only you, but to protect the other person, because germs move quickly between two people, and with the mask you're at least protected from germs coming in, and also you're protecting other people when your germs go out.
That mask looks
it's
like
a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, that looks like the
big time, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks better than the early version.
I've seen a lot of different kinds and so forth, and I would think people would take advantage of it. Have an Alabama Auburn face mask, and I don't know if there's any patents out there on face masks, but
well, what would you say about 50% of the population is wearing a mask on a regular basis? So that's 330 million Americans. Let's don't count little kids.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this.
So there are about 150 million people that are wearing masks. They don't just wear one mask. They got to have a couple of masks,
That's
right?
That's right. Sometimes they
do.
So
think of all the sales of masks in this
Exactly
country.
Right. Well, I tell you what, it's very important, and you got to be responsible. And when Alabama is one of the fastest, growing cases of the virus, it's scary. And and of course, we've got to be responsible. So at least wear these face masks when you're out in public. And Walmart's a perfect example of seeing a large group of people that are wearing their face masks, but then you see somebody like Bill Rice Jr. walking down there without a face mask.
And you get the stinky eye if you're not wearing it.
Well, and now, Bill, this is something that I've noticed, that they're getting to be more and more symptoms, more and more different symptoms.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Pink eye, have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
Pink eye is a symptom.
That's right.
Sore throat is a symptom. Diarrhea is a symptom.
Some kind of rashes in kids.
Rashes. But what I'm saying, though, there's getting to be a lot more symptoms out there.
What I found is the signature symptom that will tell you if you had COVID-19 is probably the loss of sense of smell and taste. Studies are showing that's the one that's different than typically when you have the flu, you don't lose the sense of smell and taste. And a big percentage of people that have serious cases of COVID, they've lost their sense of smell and taste. For example, Brandy McCain, I just referenced, it's 6 months after she had her symptoms, and she still doesn't have her sense of smell and taste back. And her daughter, who also got sick, teenage daughter, she doesn't have her sense of smell and taste back. Her husband also lost his sense of smell and taste. So that's one to watch for. When I thought I had it January 25th, I don't think I lost my sense of smell, but I remember eating food and it tasted off. It did not taste anything like I was used to it tasting.
Well, let me say this. If you have some symptoms, call your doctor and he'll advise you on what to do. And then, of course, when you get to the point of not breathing well, having a hard time breathing, get to the hospital emergency room as fast as you can.
That's a big one.
Because the temperature at 102 degrees,
100.4 104, I think.
I thought it was something like 102, 103 if it was there regularly. You better get the doctor and see what's going on. And
the shortness of breath is huge. That's a very serious sign. Yeah. Tim McCain he went to the hospital. His blood oxygen level was 84, which is scary, and then it dropped into the 70s, which is really, really scary. I remember taking the trash out and just being so winded after walking from my front door to the trash can. Well, I sat down on the steps. I was so winded. Yeah. So shortness of breath is another symptom to really watch for.
But you're okay now, is that right?
Well, I got an antibody test and it said I was negative, but the antibody test was given to me 4 or 5 months after I had symptoms. Yeah. And my research proves that these antibodies, in most people, they might only last 2 or 3 months. So that's kind of sad news for the vaccine hopes, is that these people that have had confirmed COVID cases, their antibodies, they do have antibodies, but they tend to start disappearing after 3 or so months. Now, Brandy and Tim McCain, their antibodies are
out of time. We're out of time. But we do appreciate you, Bill, coming and being on our show. And, of course, be responsible, ladies and gentlemen. This is no funny thing or no joke. Hey, if you think you feel silly, let me tell you this. I tell you who ought to feel silly is the ones that are not wearing their face masks out in public. Let me tell you, if you're out in public among other people, wear your face mask and adhere to the rules that are laid out there for this terrible, terrible virus. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you bright and early Monday morning for Today in L.A.